I'm one arm top, although today I'm wearing two arms because I'm not playing a game, I'm making a tier list. This video is a tier list of how I feel about different jungle picks. Before I get started, I want to say that most of these junglers are in platinum or emerald tier, and a lot of them I've only seen two or three times this season. So, pretty small sample size. If I criticize your favorite champion, I'm sorry. I just must not have seen a good example in those two or three games. And one more thing, Nadeshot specifically, I used Heist 7 times in my last video, and I'm wearing a 100 Thieves shirt, so if you want to pick me up, I'm a free agent. I'm going to start by choosing one champion from each tier and using them to explain these different tiers. So I'll start with Zach. I put Zach in the thank you tier because I feel grateful anytime I see a Zach locked in. I think he's great at engaging. He can go in, tank 5 enemies, and half the time come out alive. I think this tier is going to be a lot of junglers like that where I just believe in them. And they typically are more about ganking constantly, setting up huge team fights, and not being afraid to go in versus single handedly carrying. For the next tier, Faith Activated, my first pick for that would be Echo. Echo's the kind of champ where they can start 0-2-0, and I don't think, oh, we lost. I think, okay, but maybe in 15 minutes, this Echo is 9-2-4. He can kill the enemy AD carry, kill the enemy support, ult out, and have his ult back up for the next fight. Or he can steal Drake, ult out, have it up for the next fight. These Faith activated champs are the ones where they don't need to rely on a good bot lane versus thank you champs like Zach. If he doesn't have DPS behind him, yeah, he can tank the enemy for 15 seconds and then we still lose the fight. But an Echo without a good bot lane can still win the game. For the next tier, this is where I put Kha'Zix. The main difference between Kha'Zix and Zach, aside from everything, like their play style, their damage type, their tankiness, the main difference I see is that Kha'Zix can be 9-2, and I still don't trust him. I think that if Zach is 2-2-4, I say, fantastic, we win this game. If Kha'Zix is 9-2-4, he can have that many kills, and I think, okay, but if our mid laner question mark pings him one time, he might just give up. If our AD carry takes Krugs from him one time, he might be sprinting it down mid lane. The few Kha'Zixes I've seen have just betrayed every good feeling I've had about League. So they go in the mental based tier where I'm not concerned about their skill, I'm concerned about their mood. For the doubt tier, these are champions where, sure, you can make it work, but I just don't really trust them. So Lee Sin goes in there. I think maybe you're going to make a flashy play. Maybe it's going to win the game. But 2 out of 3 times, you're going to go for the big play. You might kick the AD carry in our direction, but you're going to be dead 2 seconds later, and the AD carry is going to get away anyway. And then the Y tier is just if you're not giga smurfing your way challenger, like challenger player in silver or whatever, I think it's a bad pick. And Nidalee goes there for me because it's not season 3. People dodge spears. I I think that there's so many better junglers that can do what she can do without making me think it's a free loss. So those are the 5 tiers. Thank you and Faith Activated are both really strong, but Thank you is more selfless champions. So for the next champion, I'm going to put Jarvan in the thank you tier. I'd say he's pretty similar to Zach in that he's going to gank immediately. He's going to set up big team fights. He's going to be tanky. I just appreciate guys like him. Rek'Sai, this one's tough. I have decent experiences with Rek'Sai. I would say Faith Activated. She's not as much of a 1v9 champ as Echo is, but she has a ton of damage. She has assassination potential. She can steal objectives pretty well. I'll put her in Faith Activated. Kane might as well be interchangeable with Kha'Zix. It's all mental based. Some Canes get fed, some don't. But either way, I'm worried that they're going to flip a switch and start sprinting it down. Fiddlesticks, I'll say Faith Activated. He has a lot of strengths, mainly team fighting, the surprise alts, but he can come back from just about anything. Like, it takes a lot for me to say a game is lost when I have a Fiddlesticks on my team. Hecarim, 2 years ago, probably would have been Faith Activated, 1v9 time. Now I'm going to put him in doubt because he's just been nerfed time after time. I think he's in a pretty weak state right now, and I'd rather see somebody else picked who does similar things but better. Eve, I'll put in Faith Activated. I don't want to just put every AP jungler in Faith Activated, but she has that huge assassination potential, and I I don't know. I thought when I got higher elo, people would know how to play around her, and somehow they just don't. So she seems crazy strong to me. Shaco, my first instinct is to say mental based because they're probably all insane. But honestly, I'd put him in the thank you tier. There's the joke about your Shaco versus enemy team Shaco. I must be getting all the enemy team Shacos because every Shaco I see is actually cracked. And Nocturne is also going to go in the thank you tier. I have seen some bad Nocturnes who can do good things early game, and then late game they keep trying to 1v5, dive on the AD carry, and they die repeatedly. But in general, I like when I see a Nocturne on my team, and I believe in him. Graves is going to be Faith Activated. I think he's the first AD champion in this tier. No, Rek'Sai. Whoops. Yeah, Graves is going to be Faith Activated for me. They just seem like very fundamentally solid, and I haven't had any rage in my game, so I believe in them. Maokai can be thank you, huge CC, plays for the team, has abilities to get vision, great all-around pick. Kindred is going to be mental based, kind of leaning towards doubt because a lot of Kindreds are just too aggressive, or they go into the enemy jungler, they go into the enemy jungle when all of our lanes are pushed in, and they say, "Oh, why did nobody help me? Like, why didn't you give up your 3 waves top to get me my Krugs?" They're incredibly selfish, the ones that I've seen, and I don't really believe in them, but sometimes they surprise you. Lilia is going to be thank you. She does a lot of CC like the other champions in that tier, and she's pretty good at surviving in almost any situation. It's the move speed and her ult. Viego is going to be doubt for me. A year ago, he probably would have been Faith Activated, but at the moment, I just think he's too weak. Don't see a lot of success with Viegos. Master Yi's tough. I think Faith Activated. He doesn't seem to be played by as many tilters as the other mental based champions. He has the 1v9 potential. I also think that he can be played by a lot of selfish people, and Yees don't really gank, but I think his late game is just so strong that I'd say Faith Activated, and I'm just going to cross my fingers that we win with 0 ganks. Nunu, I think you can put in every single tier here and justify it. The last Nunu I saw, I just played with one yesterday, and he went like 1-9-2, and I truly could not tell if he was trolling or just that bad. I'm gonna put him in doubt. He's got so much ability for great ganks. He's got the ability to secure objectives, but the people I see playing him don't really use that to its potential. So I'll say he's doubt, and I'll just hope that he's one of the good Nunus. Ivern, can be thank you for me. It's the CC, it's the Daisy, it's his willingness to play around the team. Udyr, I'm gonna put Udyr in the Y tier. I think like maybe 1 in 4 games I see Udyr go absolutely nuts and do so much damage, but 3 out of 4 games he kind of just runs around really fast and dies all the time. I think the last couple times I've seen Udyr, he's had like twice as many deaths as anybody else. People will be 4 and 6 and their Udyr's 2 and 12. And it just seems like all of his move speed is used to die to the enemy as quickly as possible. Rammus for me goes in the thank you tier. He is a non-stop ganker. He can gank, faster than any other jungler, and he can always get on the back line. I also think that he's good in top lane. I was making a video called something like committing war crimes against AD carries with Rammus because if he's ahead, he just deletes the AD carry. It's so much fun to watch, and I love what they did with his ult. I love that his ult now lets you jump over walls, jump into the back line. Great change. Love it. Warwick. I'd put Warwick in doubt. I I know he's intended to be a jungler, but I'd actually rather see a Warwick top lane than a Warwick jungle. Maybe it's just that a lot of the Warwick junglers I've seen don't really play jungle, but I feel like the Warwicks that I see are pretty bad fundamentally, even if they have a jungler with a good kit for it. I feel like they always get the enemy down to 100 HP and they die and they're like, oh, I was 0.2 seconds away from killing them. I'm like, okay, but you just gave my enemy double buffs. Gragas, he's going to go in the Y tier for me. And this is because he got nerfed a ton a few months ago. I know at the start of the season he was crazy strong, and there were all those montages of ulting people into your explosive cask. If that's the using the big barrel to knock him into the little barrel. I saw a lot of those. They're fantastic, and I only saw them on the internet. I did not see them in my game. Karthus is going to be in the thank you tier, and unlike all the other champions in the thank you tier that have a ton of CC, for Karthus, it's just his ultimate. If you use the ultimate at the right time, which is a lot of different times, you do so much damage and it pretty much wins the fight. Like a 4v5 plus Karthus ult is usually still a winning fight. And a Mumu, my thank you tier is getting pretty large, but he's going to go there as well. He's a lot like Zach for me. He can get in the fight, he can tank for 15 seconds, he can CC every single person on the enemy team, he can gank early, he doesn't need a power farm. I respect anybody who plays a Mumu. Rengar is going to go in the doubt tier. I see a lot of Rengars who have a great early game and a great mid game, and then late game, they realize they can no longer kill anybody just with their ult. They don't know how to team fight, and I know that that's not Rengar's strength, but if it gets to late game, a lot of times I see the Rengar dive really hard on the AD carry with the Soraka standing right next to the AD carry, get no kills, die, enemy gets every single objective for the last 10 minutes, and we lose the game. And Shyvana's going to go in the Y tier because she got nerfed into the ground. A month ago, she was fantastic. She was too strong, and then she got nerfed into the ground. I think she's got pretty low versatility. She's kind of a stat stick, and if she falls behind, she's pretty much hopeless. So that's my tier list. If you disagree with anything, I'd appreciate if you were at least polite. And thank you for watching.